It's hard, I've been scarred from out fighting. Waking up, stomach is starved, I keep grinding. 6 a.m, life isn't hard, I keep reciting. It feels like I might fall apart, I keep trying. Sun's coming up and the glare is so blinded. I'm sick of hearing and seeing all of the people whining. You want something good, then you better go put the time in. You get what you pay for and time is money, we climbing. It's prime time, it's my time, I got it. I'll be just fine, my mind, you can't stop it. Give me a vine to climb and I'll top it. Grow yourself a spine, got mine, that's a promise. Take a deep breath and head towards the darkness. The light at the end wasn't put there by no novice. My hand I extend, so welcome to my office. No time to repent, we're building and not stopping. We're gonna take it slow, and we gon' make it out this hole. And ain't nobody stopping us, no. So watch me as I go, watch me as I grow. And we ain't gonna take it slow, and we gon' make it out this hole. And ain't nobody stopping us, no. So watch me as I go, watch me as I grow. Yeah, I'm the fucking show. I'm gonna rule this world one day. Y'all finna know the name. I'm spitting game to the people who decide our fate. I'll make a name in history, be one of the greats. I've got the traits that you need to get past the gates. Man, I don't wait, I exceed every single day. A different breed, yeah, I put it on display. Got all I need, and it's up inside my brain. I will succeed, cause I tell myself that every day. Y'all will concede and remember the name. Shout out to Fort Minor, cause it's 50% pain. But that 5% of pleasure's why I'm still in the game. And I exceed every measure by hard work, I'll explain. It's early mornings and late nights. It's fight and sleep, that's the hardest fight. But when you sleep, someone's passing by. You better try harder and fight smarter to go farther. Become your own monster, call a self-starter. Take it slow, and we gon' make it out this hole. And ain't nobody stopping us, no. So watch me as I go, watch me as I grow. And we ain't gonna take it slow, and we gon' make it out this hole. And ain't nobody stopping us, no. So watch me as I go, watch me as I grow. Yeah, I'm the fucking show. It's hard, I've been scarred.
All right, this is the Redeye stream. I am the robot overlord Optimus Christ. Today we have the topic connecting everything as economics as well as Trump. And with me, I have, let me double check that for a moment. We have Jensen in the voice.
Hello.
We have MC.
Buddy.
We have Mr. Memes of Destruction.
Wait, where am I?
Exactly. And we got the Mad Libertarian. There we go.
How's everybody doing tonight? Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the new format as we continue to give it a go.
Yes, definitely. So tonight, we only got like 2 articles. That's why we got like a larger panel, so that way we can talk about the article in depth, so on and so forth, as you can see. Okay, so as we jump right into it, we have the Wall Street Journal shreds Washington Post Trump coverage, undermines the credibility of the press. MC, you want to go ahead and read that, or memes, or anyone, or?
Sure, I'll do it.
Okay, go for it.
Editorial page offered a feisty Boxing Day piece on Wednesday, lashing into the Washington Post's over coverage of President Trump's Christmas time visit to the troops.
Okay, so before you continue, oh, okay, there you go, found it. Go for it.
Journal focused on this piece by the Post's Philip Rucker and Paul Son, citing the opening 2 paragraphs and accusing it of needlessly working in unrelated Trump scandals into the piece that did not call for it. Excuse me. Anyone reading these opening 2 sentences wonder why millions of Americans believe Donald Trump when he tells them that he can't get a fair shake from the press, the Journal asked. To feel sorry for Mr. Trump, whose rhetorical attacks on the press have often been contemptible. The point is that these gratuitous negative reporting undermines the credibility of the press without Mr. Trump having to say a word. and you're noticing it just now, Washington Post, or Wall Street Journal. Really, what a surprise. Can't even begin a news account of a presidential visit to a military base without working in a compilation of Mr. Trump's controversies, contradictions, and failings, the paper added. Were quoted verbatim by the Journal. Touched down on Wednesday in Iraq in his first visit to a conflict zone as commander-in-chief. A week after announcing the victory over the Islamic State that his own Pentagon and State Department days earlier had incomplete. The president's visit to Al-Assad Air Base west of Baghdad, which was shrouded in secrecy, follows months of public pressure for him to spend time with troops deployed in conflicts in the Middle East and punctuates the biggest week of turmoil the Pentagon has faced during his presidency. The story with passages cited was subsequently picked up by several local news sites like the Oregonian, but no longer appeared to exist in any version of the story on the Post's own site Thursday morning. An archive Wayback Machine reveals the piece was edited after publication. The original language cited by the Journal appears to have been removed before being archived. Well, then how do you know it was archived? Or am I just missing something there?
They went to the archive.
The archive? Okay. When asked for comment, reps from the Post told the Wrap the story was updated as news developed over the course of the day. It presented facts that were accurate and context that was clearly relevant, as evidenced by the president's own comments to the American troops regarding Syria and U.S. military commanders. Trump making the trip after criticism for not previously visiting a war zone, the Wall Street Journal's own news story makes the same point, the statement said. In other words, the Washington Post is now calling back and hammering the Wall Street Journal. Wall Street Journal editor-chief James Taranto also did not immediately respond to an inquiry from the Wrap about the matter. So basically, this Wrap article is just basically hammering both sides after the Wall Street Journal attacked the Washington Post. And basically what's happening here, as far as I can tell, is I think, between the Wall Street Journal and the Washington Post and the New York Times, that they're all competing for the same viewership.
Right. Okay, now with that, the Wall Street Journal editor-chief James Taranto also did not immediately respond to an inquiry from the rap about the matter. So, guess what? What does that indicate? But moving on, discussion. What I mean, thoughts, comments, puns. Anyone?
Well, no. Okay, they were bashing Trump on not going into Iraq with troops, right?
They had made, CNN had made a comment that this was the first time that a president hasn't gone to visit the troops, in a conflict zone.
Well, and then he visits the troops, and oh my God, he's signing MAGA hats.
Right, and then then CNN freaking had a conniption. He's signing MAGA hats. He's making the troops violate their oath of office and violate the UCMJ, engaging in politics.
So CNN is just going to dox a bunch of folks serving overseas?
No, they're just going to attack the Trump at any opportunity.
Oh, Orange Man bad.
But I would like to know, how exactly is making America great again a political stance? Are you trying to make America worse than we were before? Is that the opposite of that political?
I think the point is that you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. They're always going to find something to criticize him over.
Yeah, but
when the guy's the president of the United States, all right. I mean, the reality is whoever the president of the United States is, the troops want to visit. They're going to want to see him.
You're right. It's a good morale booster.
It's just even if it's someone you may disagree with, if he's the president of the United States, he is your commander in chief, right? He is the person that you want to see. Okay, what is this guy all about? What is this guy really like? And before, all right, and I was in during the Clinton administration, right? If Bill Clinton had ever shown up at one of my areas, all right, I would have wanted to have seen him.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a natural consequence of that.
Well, no, it's an important person. It's a member of the government. It's like, I remember my cousin told me he was doing a security detail once, and I think his detail was for like Dick Cheney and stuff. He's like, yeah, no, he just came up, he shook my hand, and it was what it was.
But they can be important people, but if they're in your chain, it means something different. It sounds kind of strange, I know. I have met somebody that was part of my chain of command, then a senator or a congressman that was walking around that I had no, that wasn't part of my state.
It's different. It's like a direct part of your community because it's the chain.
So I mean, all right. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, no, and I don't have the article to give out because I saw it on my phone when I woke up. I get phone alert, but it was out of the Guardian saying that this visit by President Trump was quite irregular, and the Iraqis are pissed, and they're going to hold a vote and try and get our 5,000 plus troops out of there. If they vote for that, is President Trump going to do it?
Will President Trump do it? Probably, but they're not going to vote for it. It's not even going to be close.
How can you be sure?
Is this convenient or inconvenient outrage?
Look at what they're bitching about. This is a violation of Iraqi sovereignty. You're making a mountain out of a frickin' molehill. All right, you're attempting to sit up there and bitch because the president visited your nation? Going to sit up there and say that's a violation to Iraqi sovereignty? No. What you're seeing is Muqtada al-Sadr and his little cabal, all right, trying to make noise like they're real important. No other reason.
Go ahead.
Muqtada al-Sadr was the guy who seized the Golden Mosque. All right, I don't know how many people remember this. Back during the first part of the Iraq War, right? The Golden Mosque was seized by his forces, by several irregular forces, and this was Muqtada al-Sadr's little group. Golden Mosque, and we had painted a big red frickin' circle around it, right? We didn't want to go in there and do any real damage, so they just kind of let him sit there while he put in heavy weapons and everything else until we surrounded it and started to starve them out for weeks. Okay, this guy's been a problem forces the entire time because he's been working directly with the Iranians, trying to destabilize the region to take over.
Okay, here's the thing though. The article did go on to say that the Iraqi lawmakers want both the American influence and the Iranian out of.
McConnell al-Sadr does not want the Iranian influence out. He can say that all he wants, but his whole power base is with the Iranians. Weapons from Iran, and always has. The idea that, oh, we want the Iranians out, come on. That's just it's just talking out his ass. And and they're talking out their ass now. The group that's making this kind of claim and trying to boost this up, it's just doing it, can whip their little group into a frenzy. Nothing more, nothing less.
But that sounds political.
Well, the far as the average parliamentarian within Iraq, they're not going to ask us to leave.
Because once they ask us to leave, how are they going to guarantee their own sovereignty?
Exactly. These guys, you got to remember. All right, let me explain something else. One of the problems with Iraq, 60% of the Iraqis are Sunni, 40% are Shia. I mean, the other way around. I'm sorry. 60% are Shia, 40% are Sunni Muslims. Like one another. They have grudges against one another.
Mm-hmm.
Others' guts. 40 to 60, yeah, it might be an adverse coalition of forces, but when you start dealing with something like a democracy, it becomes a voting bloc. The one thing that is very true that everybody understands is the fact that if they allow the two hardcore sects on either side, the ones that are really trying to go after one another, to gain any kind of real credibility, that it'll be a bloodbath, no matter who it is.
So is that like a push for moderation, MC?
Trying to walk a moderate line. The problem is they're going to find out that's not going to be allowed. They don't have the forces to get rid of certain people. For example, okay, they got rid of the biggest problem with ISIS or ISIL. For the most part, the Iraqis have won that battle. All right, they've driven so that ISIL now just has like a one or two very small pockets of influence left in Syria. Right, for all intents and purposes, they have no population center anywhere within Iraq. At the same time, all right, McConnell al-Sadr, no one's dealt with him. He's got a powerful coalition, all right, supported fully by the Iranians. One of the reasons why you're seeing the Revolutionary Guard from the Iranians in Syria is because they're traveling through Iraq, given sanctuary to go through Iraq, all right, by McConnell al-Sadr's forces, holding them. Okay, so he has an awful lot of influence. I'm not going to deny that he doesn't have influence. But he wants to be the next Grand Poobah, the next frickin', for lack of a better term, Shah, right? Or whatever they call him. Imam or Khomeini.
Did you just say Grand Poobah?
Not Pumbaa.
Yeah.
Wait,
when I was a young warthog. What?
When he was a young warthog.
Okay. MC, do you think he is seeing an opportunity here politically to try and sway both sides to be like, hey, let's get the Americans out of there and Iranians, and then he's gonna pull a fucking 1-8 on the Iranian side, right?
Well,
no, he's not going to let he's just using it to rattle. That's all it is. It's saber rattling, nothing more.
So the whole thing, like the whole war that stems over is because they don't got my damn blueberries. Okay, I'm the one that sent them over there. Okay, they need to give me my goddamn blueberries.
Wait,
I don't know.
Making a pie?
I absolutely am. Okay, that's the whole thing. They don't have my blueberries. I'm coming for their blueberries. They need to grow them out of whatever desert they found them out of, but they better have my blueberries.
Hashtag more pie.
More pie. More pie. Moving on to the economic stuff. So Dow Jones decided to do an oopsies. And this oopsie actually benefited them. So the Dow closes more than 250 points higher in wild session, erases 600-point drop. Praise Doug. So the stocks closed higher on Thursday, adding to the massive gains from the previous session after a strong surge in the final hours of trading. The Dow Jones Industrial Average ended the day up 260.37 points, or 1.1%, at 23,138.82. The S&P 500 closed at 0.86% higher at 2,488.83, while the NASDAQ Composite climbed 0.4% to 6,579.49 points. As its lows of the day, the Dow has fallen 611 points. The S&P 500 and NASDAQ fell as much as 2.8% and 3.3% respectively. The major averages started surging after 2 p.m. Eastern Time, around the time that they hit their lows of the day. So here's a big old fancy graph that everyone can look at. Look, it has no reference to blueberries. We're going to go ahead and ignore it. Art Cashin, director of floor operations at UBS, said market on close orders went from 200 million to sell to more than 2 billion to buy late in the day. That started the early rally, he said. They thought that they were going to be huge sellers. Now they're huge buyers. Earlier in the day, stocks fell amid renewed tensions between China and the United States. Oh, that rascally rugrat. Reuters reported, citing 3 sources familiar with the situation, that President Donald Trump is considering an executive order to ban U.S. companies from using equipment built by Chinese firms, Hawaii and ZTE. This executive order would come at a time when the 2 largest world economies are trying to strike a permanent trade deal. Earlier this month, China and the U.S. agreed to a 90-day grace period to come up with an agreement. The uncertainty will continue to weigh on the market, said Dave Campbell, principal at BOS. BOS, what does that stand for? Blueberries on something. Blueberries on something. There we go. I think that's going to help drive the volatility as we roll forward, because I don't think it's going to be a clean path to an agreement or some kind of resolution. China has recognized they're a little more vulnerable in this trade negotiation with the U.S. because they have more at stake than the U.S. does from a bilateral stance, with no blueberries, Campbell said. I think there will be a resolution, but it's going to be a rocky path. No, I don't want rocky road. I want blueberries, goddammit. Which to me means a lot more volatility, both up and down. Thursday's move comes from a historic surge on Wall Street on Wednesday. The Dow rallied to close more than 1,000 points higher, its biggest single-day point gain ever.
Okay, let's stop here for the moment, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Okay, all right. Yes, all right. First of all, it did finally mention the fact that trade war happens between the United States, all right, and China. Okay, that the China's going to come off for the worst. All right, China does not have the ability to stand up to the United States in a trade war simply because we are China's largest trading partner, period. Not the U.S.'s largest trading partner, not even close. You get into a trade war with the United States, it's the obvious imbalance is going to be on China to sit up there and come back and they're going to have to give in.
Well, I think the simplest that we can boil it down to is, what can you offer me? And the thing is, right now the U.S. has a lot more to offer, so China has to come to the trade table with how are you going to benefit the U.S.? And that's why it's volatile for them, because I'm under the assumption they don't have much to offer, right?
Well, we've got the bigger stick, and we got the leverage in this.
We're the largest economy in the world by far.
Right.
Now, the other thing about this is 3 parts. The second part of this is Huawei and ZTE. The reason they're in trouble is they've literally been caught in firmware and hardware in their chips into their microcircuits, all right, to allow spying to take place. This.
Well, I mean, if they're spying, they need to give me my blueberries.
Okay,
I hope you hear this.
And so, so the result is people have been warning about this for about 5 years now. They've known this for about 5 years, and they've been asked to stop, and they've refused to do it. All right. So it's like, okay, you want to play this game, then we're going to, people are going to start taking action. And it's not just the United States, or even the EU and Great Britain have come out and said, you know what, we're going to limit any of these devices from coming into our nations. It isn't just the United States that is concerned about this. All right. In fact, in some ways, we're kind of the late to the game, because I think they're already banned in Canada, aren't they? It's just ordered their entire all Huawei equipment to be removed.
I'm not sure about that. I haven't seen anything. I mean, but then again, I could very easily miss that.
A few weeks ago, one of them they were saying that they were replacing all of their network stuff from Huawei with something else.
If only there were other smart people in Asia that could actually assemble said things, create said circuitry, perhaps being used as a bargaining chip for #OneKorea.
Well, it's not that they can't create it; it's the cost. They were,
goddamn train tracks.
It also comes down to the cost of how cheap this stuff is, but that no one's talking about.
Goddamn trains.
Yeah.
Not carrying my blueberries.
Yeah, that's really causing instability. Go ahead.
I want to go back. Yeah, I want to go backwards a little bit on what you guys were talking about. Yeah, China can't win a trade war, or they can't beat America economically. What happens when a trade war turns into a real war? Because that has been known to happen. And look at his.
What happens when a trade war gets hot and turns into a real war?
Yeah, China has been working on their military quite a bit.
Why you don't buy our phones? We shoot you with bottle rockets.
Yeah, what are they going to do?
They can knee-howl their way back to whatever the fuck they were doing.
I don't know about that. They've been making a lot of moves in the South China Sea. They're already positioning themselves to be able to do something. Yeah, they can't necessarily take on America yet, but give them.
Okay, but we're not talking 16 years from now. We're talking right now. They do not have the ability to go to war with the United States, all right, as long as we don't get stupid and try and do a ground war in China. As long as we stay out of that, there's not much China can do. China doesn't have the forces action yet. Are they trying to get that? Yes.
And
very
we still
limited.
do have the Second Amendment as well.
But they're not. They can't get outside of their. They have no navy. This is all right. Their Air Force, as much as people try to plus up their Air Force is not. It's not a first world Air Force. It's not. The sky, at which point we have air supremacy and combat at will.
We need to keep in mind, it's like you don't shortchange the Chinese in that they're very smart, dude. They built an island. It's just like, well, we need a place to kind of work some things. Oh, let's build an island. Oh, look, an airstrip. Oh, look, docking ports. All right.
Guys are gonna find out building islands.
But they have DJ Not Nice. How can they not prosper?
It's not like you can't take an island away from them.
MC, now you're just being Machiavellian there.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
I'm being,
how
I'm dealing with realpolitik. I'm sorry.
How about we Machiavellian our way back to the article? Okay.
Right.
Just
But okay, let me get back to the third thing that I was talking about. The third thing that's causing market instability, and no one's talking about it, literally, and that's Jensen's group, right? The Brexit, causing all sorts of jitters on the international market because nobody knows what's going to happen. People like this or not, Great Britain is a financial powerhouse. And when the financial powerhouse is in turmoil, all right, this is going to roil the markets. That's why you're seeing this markets go up and down and left and right and all over the place. No one has any idea what's going to happen with Brexit. The people are concerned, and the people are making contradictory type.
What's the U.S.'s relationship with? Basically,
again?
Trade laws with? Is it trade laws with the UK or is it with the EU?
Right now, our trade is with the EU. Allowed to trade with us directly.
What if President Trump were to put like a trade agreement on the table for the UK? Wouldn't that give them a bit more of a bargaining chip with the EU?
He's already said that he's willing to create trade agreements right away with them. That's already been stated as a bargaining chip. May threw it all away.
Okay, on that note, yeah, Optimus, let's continue with the article and then we'll get back to
yeah, definitely. Because I mean, I like these talking points. I just want to get this article out the way. So just when everyone had counted the market down, the market bounded back. John Kerry, a portfolio manager at Amundi Pioneer, Amundi, told CNBC on Thursday. He described the Wednesday bounce on Wall Street as very positive and also quite surprising. I think it has to do with valuations. We got to a point where the market had sold off about 20% and price to earnings multiples has come down on the S&P from the low 20s to 15 or 16 times earnings. And all of a sudden people looking around and thought stocks might be a good buy, Kerry said. Wednesday's gain also marked the biggest upside move on a percentage basis for the Dow since March 23, 2009, when it rose 5.8 percentage points. The S&P 500 and NASDAQ also notched their best gains since March 23, 2009. However, investors remained hesitant to call Wednesday's lows a bottom. What are they, a top? Benjamin Lau, Chief Investment Officer of Abrium Advisors, said this market is completely emotionally driven, adding, when the trend gets like this, it's hard to say when it will end. And this face right here is, perfect for, like, the whole reaction. And so, I mean, that's generally the end of the article, but, I mean, that face, you can't forget that face. I mean, how about this face?
Well, it's it's kind of sweet, kind of sour. I don't know.
Right. All right. So continue the discussion because I mean that was the last article, and I'm interested to hear what the impact on the world it's going to have, moving forward.
Well, yeah, and actually, here's a jump off point. MC, didn't President Trump come out recently saying that he would love to be able to fire the chairman of the Fed? Actually, he asked if he was able to, and sorry, Mr. President, you're not able to. They're not actually federal. Our banking, industrial complex is strong in America.
Right.
Well, he did say that, and this goes to another problem that okay, when they were doing quantitative easing, they combined it with overly low interest rates.
Wait, wasn't it free money that was being able to be loaned out at interest rates? So it's literally, here's money so you can just make money even if it's in a T-bill account.
Oh yeah, but the problem was, of course, is they're selling treasuries at an exorbitant rate, all right, and they were basically just printing money is what was going on at the same time.
We printed $1 trillion in one day.
Well, okay, and I mean that's at the same time that wasn't going to hold because inflation that's an inflationary move, And whether people want to admit this or not, because the media definitely didn't, if you walk out right now and you compare the price of food to what it was prior to 2008, major difference in the cost of food. It didn't raise dramatically quickly, but over time it certainly did.
Oh, compounded. It's
Now
the whole
we're adding...
shopping cart meme. It's like you see from like the 90s, you see a full cart, and then all of a sudden you see a half cart, and now you got like 4 things.
The only thing I'm interested in is what comes into play here for blueberries, bones, and flashlights.
Well, you get 1 blueberry now.
Well, only we're going to war.
Wait, are we rationing blueberries?
You don't get the
understand.
We're definitely going to war. You give me my blueberries.
All right. So the Fed has needed to raise interest rates, all right, to keep things stable for a while. The question is raising interest rates and then saying, okay, that'll be the last one for a while, and then turning right around the next time, jacking them up again. They're raising them too quickly to markets aren't able to absorb it. That's where a lot of the problem is. It's not that the interest rates need to be raised, because they definitely need to be raised. Don't want is the Fed saying, okay, we're done raising interest rates maybe one more time this year, and then the next quarter, well, we're raising them again, that maybe one more time this year, all right, and then doing it again and again and again. Every time they meet, they're raising the interest rate.
Well, that's what they said. That should add market certainty.
Oh, that's not, because they said we might do it, probably not. And people were betting on, okay, they're done with their interest rate hikes at least for 6 months, and then back them up again. Because
I thought one of the members of the Fed said that they plan to raise it at every meeting over next year.
Oh, but the Fed chairman hasn't said that.
Well, and
the Fed chairman has not said, I'm going to keep jacking up these interest rates. He has not said that.
Well, and I think part of it is maybe the Fed wants to kind of harpoon Trump's economic growth that's going on.
Well, actually, MC. No, actually, guys, if President Trump actually wanted to fire the Fed without firing the Fed because he couldn't, does this not go back to the whole trillion-dollar coin loophole?
Oh, I mean, the trillion-dollar coin loophole is just a fantasy in people's minds. Okay,
you think President Trump wouldn't use that if that loophole was not fixed?
I think that the loophole is just a talk, and that the effects would be so dramatic and so damaging to the United States. There's no way he would actually do it.
I don't believe that, but MC, you might not believe that. I have a inkling that he would, but I think he would hold off on it.
Well,
I have folks out there that think
he would do something to intentionally harm the United States? I don't think so.
No, I don't think so, but I think other people would take it as a true threat and actually capitulate.
There's one thing that I do believe, and I believe they better have my goddamn blueberries.
Well, I will say this right now. Anybody who thinks that Trump bluffs is making a mistake.
Yeah, he has shown a lot of bravado and have followed through just because, ooh, look, a button,
Head Man Dot, you were going to say something?
Well, yeah, what about the libertarian argument? Let's do this the way Andrew Jackson did, kill the bank.
That would cause massive that might cause like a world depression.
Well, I mean, isn't that the point?
And I mean, some would argue for that. Someone at many different sides, but I'd say a bit more of an easing, maybe not quite quantitatively, but how about qualitatively? Let's not destroy everything at once.
The thing is, so in my observations, any type of system, in order to get a complete rework, has to have a shock of some kind, right? So the thing is, things have to get so low. It's like, okay, now they're finally getting things rolling to fix them. And so if it takes the whole global depression or U.S. depression or something, people very well might take it that far.
I just prefer it not to be another world war.
Well, I mean, that is what they're aiming for, aren't they?
I think we can correct. I hope we can.
Well, I
Are
mean,
we back to wishing in one hand
yeah,
again? There, means?
hope in one hand and crap in the other. See which one fills faster.
Yeah, no, but MC, I taking what you're saying to heart. Maybe not in this particular instance fully, but I listened to your words.
but you don't want to believe them.
So I just wanted to say that this is a monumental occasion, and Lou Blueberries, MC, and Memes have actually agreed on something. Can we just praise Doug?
Hey, Jack, your blueberries are in the fields rotting to fix their prices, just like the cherries.
Wait, okay. I can deal with the blueberries, but don't F with my cherries.
And so Renee says, or we could take out national sovereignty back from the clique of rootless cosmopolitan elites that have ruled since the institution of the Fed. And now I'm not reading anything.
Style revolution with the U.S. that come out globally.
And now I'm no longer going to read anything from Bruni because he said death to Doug. So can we just go ahead and ban him real quick?
The attack on Doug. No, but the as far as the Fed goes, first of all, the Fed actually is involved in. Really does need to be, and Mad Dodge is right about this. There does need to be a reckoning with the Fed. It's not necessarily just go out there and kill it. The first thing you got to do is prove what the hell they're actually doing and find out what the hell they're involved in. And the only way to do that is to audit the Fed. The Fed does need to be audited.
Wait, why would we need to take a look at the books of the people printing the money?
Because the vast majority of them have gotten so wealthy from doing that, haven't they? They don't seem to be suffering when they're printing money. It seems like they keep getting richer. I wonder how that's actually happening.
Because they ordered too much paper, so they write it as a corporation overhead and keep the rest.
Wait, no, I thought it was cotton.
Cotton? You think it's cotton?
Wait a second.
Well, it is made from a cotton derivative now, so I mean.
Come on, Mad Dodge, you can sing the song. Wish I was in the land of cotton. I know this is what you're looking for again, right?
Yeah, we're not going that way.
Well, no, I got my Constitution out, and I'm looking in the legislative branch. I know there's somewhere here. Oh, here it is. Congress gets to print the money. I don't see anything about the Federal Reserve, though. It's funny. I'm looking.
Well, no, the House controls the power of the purse. Wait,
the House
the purse now?
This is what I've been talking to you guys about for a long time. The House has turned over to the executive branch a lot of its responsibilities. It could take it back. You should be advocating for them to take back the responsibilities. But see, then congressmen would actually have to work.
Right.
That Nancy Pelosi and her little cabal there have no intention of doing any kind of real work anytime soon. Which is, right now we're technically in a government shutdown, right? Everyone agree with that?
Technically, I haven't noticed any change. I mean, aside from like news. But everyone, welcome Timma the Hun.
Hi guys. Sorry about the delay.
Not a problem.
So since the government is shut down, why is the government shut down? The government shut down only because borrow any more money and now have to live within the receipts that they get. They have to live within their means. Do you really think that Trump is going to go out of his way to end this shutdown anytime soon?
No.
I think what they're trying to make it as is like, I'm shutting it down until the wall is agreed to be built. You know, that's the whole curtain covering, the back end stuff. But yeah.
Oh, he's using it as leverage for that. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
But is there really any pressure on Trump?
No, not really. Considering that I haven't seen anything contrary to him funding his own stuff. You know, like he has his own money. You know, the thing is, you know, as far as I understand, he's not. Well, I mean, I still would have to look into it, but as far as I know, he's still living off of his own money and not actually. You know, he's donating his paycheck from being president to like charities. I mean, I thought I read that somewhere. Am I wrong?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah. No, he donates the $1 million salary, I believe. No, but I think even during the campaign, he says, "Oh no, let the government shut down. Yeah, we'll save money." I believe he did say something like that.
Well, that's a pretty common Republican talking point, though, isn't it?
Well, most folks usually bail when they actually realize they start getting some heat.
Well, no, and except for that this time, you know, after so many media-hyped government shutdowns that did nothing except for what Obama via executive order did that wasn't normally part of those government shutdowns, there was no big deal. As soon as everybody realized that the stuff with, you know, vets not and soldiers and people not getting paid and, you know, fishing licenses and stuff like that not being released, when they realized that was actually through the White House and the White House's machinations, the jig was up, and that's when Obama stopped using government shutdowns as a weapon. So these are kind of like non-consequential now. It's nobody cares if the government shuts down now.
To be fair, the last
like we as individuals, like what happens? We stop getting our mail. Great, no more bills.
Yeah.
The post office is a necessary service.
Yeah, it is.
Is it a major form of communication that can't be handled by other entities?
Oh, well, I mean, you could always just digitize the post office.
Welcome, Demon Hobbit, to the chat.
Yeah.
That kind of poses a problem. What we need to do is start better automating it so there's less theft of packages from postal workers.
That may.
It's all right. We'll just
about more like a Dropbox means. There.
We'll just contract Amazon to drone it out. It's cool.
Maybe those drones are pissing people's neighbors off now.
It's gonna get worse. I just want my pizza.
So something interesting that was brought up to me personally. Apparently, I think Kroger is starting to have like the automated vehicle delivery service. So that way, like so they had an app to where you can order your, you know, groceries ahead of time, have someone else pick it out, and they have a service fee, right? Well, now apparently that they're starting to go with the Elon Musk route with the, you know, automated vehicles that carry like I think 6 to 8 bags of groceries each pocket, with the combining 4 pockets as an automated vehicle. And it's more like one of those really tiny cars that, you know, you, no matter the size you are, you look like a clown getting out of it. So it's like, I guess they're starting down that route to see how it's going to work out. And let's just say that I foresee a lot of extra side roads just being built just for these vehicles, because let's face it, people on the freeway, they got places to go, stuff to do. They're not going to worry about a little, you know, toy RC car running through streets and everything.
Yeah, but when there's 200 or 300 of them.
Is that Elon Musk's plan for the tunnel and everything? He's not actually doing it for a hyperloop. He's just using it for automated cars.
I'm not sure. I don't even think it's done by Elon Musk. I think it's something that Kroger is trying to do on its own. I would have to look more into it, but I mean, it was an interesting initial look, to say the least.
We gotta. It's one of those things where it is coming, and just even my brother, dude, he ended up getting laid off from his like warehouse job. He was replaced. His more of our conspiracy theory style friends like, dude, you watch when next year we're gonna be replaced by robots. My brother's like, oh, whatever. And in 11 months, they were replaced by robots. And dude, there are a lot of jobs as we know it that we're going to be losing over the next like 40, 50 years. We're going to see a massive decrease in the jobs that we currently know. And that's a big thing that we really need to keep an eye out for.
And the thing is, like a lot of people, so let's look at it this way. The more machines that are or the more programs or machines that are replacing people at their job, guess what? They're going to need people to maintain those machines, and back in, the late 90s, early 2000s, it was emphasized, hey, look, get into this field now, IT, stuff like that, because they projected this. And now that it's happening, everyone has that, the Pikachu surprised face, because it's already been happening and it's already been projected, and people are acting like this is a surprise.
Pikachu surprise face.
Right.
I was thinking deer in the headlights, but whatever, it all worked.
Right. So I mean, we're about to bring is it Bruni, or it is Bruni, right?
Well, I was gonna say real quick, nobody. Yeah, it is Bruni though. Nobody is. Where's the horse manure shovelers league? They disbanded in 1904. There was really a horse mess league, believe it or not, for several major cities in America. They were basically a loosely formed union of people that used to sweep up after horses on cobblestone streets before cars were a common thing. We replaced those jobs when cars were made popular and mainstreamed. That's the word I'm looking for. We replaced those jobs. It's just going to take, humans always find a way to be busy. We find a way to make stuff. It's just how we are. So we'll figure out another way to keep people busy.
Right.
We may functionally stop using automation too. I don't know.
Right. And with jobs, going bye-bye, new jobs will be created to replace those, just in different fields. But we're about to bring Bruni down so that way we can hear him out. Hey, Bruni, how's it going?
Hi, Bruni.
Oh, it's going. Give me one moment to see if the stream's still going.
Yeah, it's still going.
Still going.
No, I meant on my end.
Oh, okay.
You do want to do my noob move.
But yeah, no, it's...
Were you going to finish that statement?
Yeah. No, it's paused. I keep forgetting I'm on push to talk. So the thing that I was going to comment on with automation is, if there's a what are we going to do with people put out of these jobs? There's a certain dignity to work, and it's the whole learned code meme.
Well, the thing is, there's several factors that go into play here that I think. So there's the dignity lost because someone's been at this job for 20 years and they just lost it because the business wants to be more productive without the cost of, other stuff. So now you got the individual who lost the job and their dignity's gone, so they sink into depression, right? That's understandable. That is a human function that is going to happen. Now, with the whole learning to code meme, it's basically going to turn into the status quo, because with more and more machines and programs replacing people's jobs, it also raises the question, well, how are people going to get paid if every single job is taken over by machine, right? Well, the thing is, machines do break down. Not as often as people break down. That's what the businesses are taking in consideration with the cost-benefit analysis, right? So now, take those people that have been at that job, place them in a seat, be like, hey, look, now you get to be relaxed. You get to learn this new language. It might not be the language you wanted to learn. You can't cuss people out in 20 different languages now, but you get to learn one that is applicable between a crap ton of machines and programs for you to be able to fix them.
What about the people that aren't able to learn? There are some people... There's one in particular that I work with, actually, that he could not learn how to fix one of these robots.
No, but he will be the person that stops and says hello to people on the street. He will be paid to go be a pleasant, gregarious individual out in public if that's what he's good at or whatever. He'll find another way to use his skills. That's the thing about being humans. And if not, you can't guarantee it's equal access to opportunity, not equal outcome.
It ends up kind of going into almost an argument for social credit or some form of universal basic income.
Yeah, no.
I don't know. It's kind of hit or miss on that one, because the thing is, and this reminds me of the movie Up in the Air, right? When they tell this guy who's been working at this job for the last 10 years, and they look at his resume, it's like, look, you know, you can't do this job anymore, but you can cook. And then the guy looks at him like, what do you mean? It's like, your resume here, you've been here at the last 10 years, but you took classes for being a gourmet chef. What changed? You know, the fact is that, you know, you did it for your kids, your grandkids, or whatnot. You know, when did it stop being just a job to get by to being a full-time thing? You know,
well, it's utilizing alternative skills. And actually, the other thing that I actually would touch on that could do this is the form of private charity. I mean, as we've seen, and like MC really kind of turned me on to kind of change my mind on some of these issues. And
hold on, just pause that. Second momentous occasion on this stream on a new overlay, memes changed his mind.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily go that far, but I'm open to entertaining ideas. Because no, all I know is when MC saying, well, private charity, I'm like, but MC, what about the people? He's like, well, I believe most folks are good people. I'm like, yeah, those words have come out of my mouth before, and I actually started to think about it. And when we do see things like GoFundMe, you look at the majority of the things over there, it's like folks have terrible things happen to them, and people are willing to actually help out. That's why when I tried to do my Kickstarter to troll the UK Parliament, when it didn't go through, I went over to GoFundMe. I just opened the page up. I'm like, I see all these folks with actual causes. I'm like, yeah, I don't need actually $6,000 that bad to troll the UK Parliament. Right. What I'm saying is most folks are good people, and there is an argument that if folks see somebody in need, that they will help. It's just folks that are in need to be able to ask.
Right, and that's the thing. It's, you know, the opportunity is there, you know, like the GoFundMe pages and stuff like that, you know, and a lot of people are, I don't know, I think a lot of people are in favor of making that like a requirement, you know, like forcing people to pay into it for those that still have jobs, you know, but I mean, the opportunity is out there.
I think that one thing that bothers me is this viewpoint that too many people have, that there's something called perfect world.
Yeah.
Out there that no matter what happens, there's a perfect system out there. There's no such thing as a perfect system. There's no such thing as when you're talking about these kind of things. Yes, okay, as the world shifts, as the world changes, there's going to be quote unquote winners and losers. Be winners and losers. Okay.
Well, we're perfectly imperfect creatures.
The idea that somehow you're going to tie and that we're all going to be the same is nonsense. Now, yes, humanity will continue. We will find other ways to adjust. The world will adjust around it. There are things that people will take advantage of. People will learn to take advantage of other things and develop other areas and other skill sets.
Like my blueberries.
Well, just not just like your blueberry, but you go back to Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs came out when computers homes, but nobody had done it yet. The home computer market was
right at that point in time. It was still like a corporation business type thing.
Right. So it was, but there was a market ready right there waiting. All it took was for somebody to go, "Huh, I can do this."
Yeah.
It's going. No matter what you do, as soon as you start moving in computers or robots to take over a lot of menial type jobs, people will shift to other styles of work.
Yeah,
things that's desperately needed right now. All right, is MADDS skills going to increase, and that's specifically with CNC machines. Well, what are you going to do about this guy who can't do this? I bet he can run a CNC machine. I bet he can be taught how to do that.
Right.
No, this guy he might be certifiably retarded.
There will always be people that need janitors. You know, if he's at that skill level.
The thing that is indicative about this to me is we may have learned how to split the atom, but we have forgotten the Sermon on the Mount.
So what you're saying is we may have learned to do all this cool thing, but we're forgetting the human element.
Exactly.
So the human element is also adaptability, survivability. The thing is, if it was meant to happen, they'll survive. They'll adapt some way, somehow. I mean, even with me, if I haven't learned how to survive and adapt, I doubt I'd be here right now. You know, that's with each and every individual that goes through change in their entire life. You have to survive and adapt. When you lose a job and you go to another job, right? You start sweating up a storm because you're worried because you've been working at your previous job 15 years and you forgot how to present yourself to a recruiter at a different job. You know.
Well, I'm going to take the controversial position here, and personally, I'd like to see something straight out of the Strasserist platform implemented here, where it's a compulsory service required, where you spend a few years either cleaning up litter, planting trees, or basically doing beautification work, and you're paid by the state. Just it won't be a glorious living, but it'll be a subsistence lifestyle until you can find work.
So federally mandated servitude?
Germany, as far as I know, they already have that for their higher education requirement. The government will pay. It is a state-based program, but what they do is they say, if you're willing to either serve in the military or do a form of public work, whether it's working at a hospital or whatnot, that they will pay for your higher education as long as you meet the qualifications to enter whatever particular field it is.
Ding dong.
Yeah, I can't make it stop. No matter what I put those window settings to, it just won't go away.
The more you know.
Dun, dun, dun. See, we can educate here as well.
Yeah.
I mean, that's along the lines of one of my other requirements that I would love to implement, that being compulsory military service, where straight out of high school, you're forced to sign up for a 2-year service, and which branch is determined basically by an aptitude test. Maybe also take a page out of the Swiss playbook and require that you keep your service rifle with you at your home.
Yeah, where is that? I think it's, Australia does that too, because they have very strict firearms laws. And I was talking with Knives the other day, and what he said is if you actually serve in the Australian military, once you finish up your tour and stuff like that, basically once you're done, you actually get to keep your service weapon.
But the purpose of doing it in Switzerland and Sweden is for you're automatically in the reserves.
Oh, so it's readiness.
Now, I mean, would something like that work in the United States? It would change the dynamic into the in service. That's for sure. I'm not sure that that's necessarily a good thing, as large as our nation actually is. Because what you're basically is to put literally 1 million men in service.
Before we continue that line of thought, MADDS, did you want something to say?
Yeah, I was trying to say I don't like the idea of the government forcing me into the military.
Yeah, I don't like yeah.
Well, I mean, that's the, the draft, or, the voluntary service now thing. Like when someone hits 18, you gotta sign up for it.
Oh, dude.
Selective service. My bad.
Yes, and I did sign up for it, because if you don't, then you don't have access to financial aid, and they can throw you in jail. But the thing is, though, I don't necessarily like that idea either.
Right. So I think because Bruni decided to... There we go. Hold on. Okay, so let me go ahead and clarify something real quick. Is that the moment that you mute yourself or I think deafen yourself, you tend to get kicked out of the podcast room. So just as a heads up.
Yeah,
He said,
like
and then it was just like, boop. A snoot boop.
Well, no, and Bernie, let's give you a couple more minutes if you want to take them. If not, have a good day, man. That way there's another spot for somebody else if they want to slide into the waiting room. We have our last hour going on, so we could let some people in one at a time.
Right. And
all right.
Yeah, definitely.
No,
so what was that line of thought? I'm sorry.
The thing that brings me to seeing compulsory service as a good thing is, as part of living in a society, you have certain duties that are expected of you. And yeah, I don't see any of this working in a multi-ethnic society, but maybe one day when the United States is 90% white again, who knows?
Hey, we had some proposed problems.
Okay, no, I have to disagree with that right on its very face, because even you want to call America 90% white, that's an outright lie on its face. Because at the time America was created, there was 15% of the population was Irish, which wasn't technically considered white. Let's not change the no.
Irish or white?
Created America. Let's be real about this. Multi-ethnic culture has been the foundation of this country. It was the integration of two cultures to begin with, if not three, if we want to look at the black culture that slaves brought with them, as well as some of the Mexican culture that was sort of.
It's hard to say it's culture when they didn't even have a written language.
Hold on.
Yes,
one
did.
talks than the other.
Yes, they did. Several of the Native American tribes had their own languages and governmental systems.
No, I'm talking about the slaves.
Okay, and the countries they came from didn't have kingdoms and written languages because the oldest languages in the world didn't originate from Africa.
So, okay, so let's just place a pin, because that could go on literally all night. I've seen it go on literally all night.
No, when I say white, I mean anyone of European or Russian descent. And no, I do not mean Turkey.
No, I mean at that point then we're just kind of discussing the whole pushing for like an ethno-state, which is a highly controversial thing to probably most folks out there.
And that's the thing. If the situation,
that kind of idea leaves no room for mixed race people. This is judging people based off of their genetic background that they have no choice on.
Right, and we can have that subject for another day, because right now we're going off topic now, and it's spiraling.
Yeah, basically how automation is going to affect like the workforce and everything.
Yeah, so I mean,
I'm good with having that a different day then.
Yeah, that's not a problem. We can definitely set that up. But I mean, like, economically wise, the correlation between, like Korea, both Koreas, China, England, all that good stuff in the U.S. What about that?
Well, I think we have to have equal opportunity and not worry about the outcomes so much. We got to leave people some room to make some choices and have some consequences for their actions, because the whole premise of being free is that you're free to live with the choices that you've made.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you can't adapt and be flexible, there's no way for you to survive in any society where anybody can adapt and be flexible at all, ever. Without some measure of voluntarism into something like an openly capitalistic society, I would argue we don't have one right now, but you have to kind of accept that some people aren't going to make it. I mean, there's no way to have everybody brought up at all the time, People are going to fail.
Well, we can try to always do better. That's the big thing. As long as we're trying.
So there's
they
a fine.
Can try to do better.
Okay, so there's a fine line between trying to help people succeed and acknowledging that sometimes, if not most, will fail. Okay, the thing is, no child left behind. Every chicken in a pot, method doesn't exactly work. Now,
the reason it doesn't work, of course, there's several reasons, but the primary one is when you take that kind of philosophical approach, everything down to the least common denominator.
Yeah.
Lowest person or the lowest group, however you're measuring that status, and you're saying that's the standard to achieve. It's the standard. Okay, if that becomes the accepted standard, then especially when the standard overall is supposed to be higher, you're supposed to try and raise your standards. But if your standards are always so low, you don't have a standard. And that's what's been happening, at least within the American society, especially within the public education system.
mm-hmm.
Yes.
Have been reduced to the point where, let's be perfectly honest, you don't have to learn. You don't have to achieve. You don't even need any kind of self-discipline to teach yourself how to read and buckle down to study for the most part. All right? The average person doesn't have to do it. Everything's reduced now. And every time you come out with a new study, the United States, when it comes to the education system, all right, is lagging behind the rest of the Western world. Well, what's the rest of the Western world have? They have standards. It's not a problem of multiculturalism or anything else. It's been that there's been an attack on the standards and applying those standards. Because of the attitude, no child left behind. Because we come back and go, oh, I can save all the children.
Right, and then the standards are lowered to make everyone feel accommodated, and when everyone feels accommodated, they don't feel the need to push themselves further.
No, we have to accept that we're imperfect, fallible creatures that will do acts of evil. It's just we can try to do better, and just, I think as Optimus was saying before, just be able to try to adapt and become better and overcome.
Yeah, and the thing is, a lot of people are focusing on not being left behind. Well, how about allowing the opportunity to be able to succeed? Helping them in that aspect instead of lowering the standard of, hey, this person can't do this or can't do that. Can't isn't in my vocabulary. I will spend as much time as necessary to be able to learn something to further improve something in my life, as much time as it needs, and I will buckle down and do it. That's the motivation.
You just said
hey,
the
man,
word.
Your robot needs to be reprogrammed so the word can't actually works in his vocabulary.
Yep. You know what I mean.
Wait a second. You're not actually Optimus. That's how we can tell you're a doppelganger.
Yes, I'm a doppelganger, the one with the power to make overlays, and have blueberries. So the thing is, providing the opportunities to better oneself rather than lowering the bar to meet the expectations of the lowest achiever. Do you see where I'm going with that?
Yeah.
And instead of lowering the bar to meet everyone's needs and accommodations, how about provide them the opportunity to be able to better themselves?
It's kind of like the balance between go ahead, man.
Trust me, nobody likes living a life where they're simply getting by if they're more than an NPC.
Well,
I think one of the things about humanity is generally people are, while generally people are good, I also think that people generally are lazy.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's the case.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're 80% water. We tend to go the path of least resistance.
Screw you, I'm 80% motor oil.
Oh, okay, fine. Okay,
It
hashtag
goes
not
to
all.
the path of least resistance.
No, but I really, Bruni, what I think it kind of comes down to is kind of like, how do you harness the pure power and productivity of capitalism while being able to use that power and not necessarily have just folks dying on the streets in the gutter and stuff like that. I understand, hey, we do all make our own choices, but I do think there is something to that whole privatized charity model where it not only becomes, okay, you're a government agency, I'm cutting check for 0009452 for like just this particular individual, just being able to integrate people helping people. It's like you see the little old lady down the street, all of a sudden her roof goes or something. It's like, you know what, hey, let's actually get some folks together, let's buy some supplies and stuff. And I do really think with the internet we have the power to actually do things like that. It's just, if folks believe that is possible, I do think that it puts us on a better track to actually achieving it.
And Ain't Jack actually raises a good point too. He says, also, why do we focus on what someone is weak at in education instead of focusing on what they're very good at to make them the best they can be at what they are very good at? And I would agree with him on some points, but because of the education system being standardized, it doesn't allow for the productivity and the growth and development of people with specialized traits.
He did also correct me and say, since he's an adult male, he's only 60% water. Thank you.
There you go.
So you're dehydrated.
But yeah, I'm gonna drop so other people can come in. I've got tomorrow off if when you want to talk about the ethno state.
Well, I mean, I'll check the schedule, but well, you know what? Hey, tomorrow is debate, so I mean, you and Memes can get it on.
But I think there's don't they already have a debate?
Do we have
scheduled
one?
with Sherardi?
I actually would like to speak
got
to
one,
you
then
with someone
another
else
day.
about that at some day, maybe next weekend.
The debate was going to be Sherardi and I.
Who's debating Sherardi?
I don't know who she was going. Yeah, I don't know who's debating her.
Well, we could ask her.
The Patreon controversy as far as do they have the right to kick people off? Platforming, basically, the argument's going to be on deplatforming. Is it legal? Isn't it legal? What can they do? What can't they do?
I think that would
of the First Amendment.
Citizens
United.
Well, that okay. So here's the thing, right? There's a difference between a platform and a publisher. And Patreon has clearly made the outline from the videos that I saw that they are not a platform, they are a publisher because they sided, politically speaking, with one side. And so with a publisher, type status, it's freedom of speech until they want you off. Since they own it, they can. But with YouTuber Law, who I watch avidly, by the way, everyone should check it out. He actually went ahead and filed an FTC complaint because of the antitrust law. Because the whole the Patreon with PayPal shutting down Subscribestar. So with that whole thing, that's where the antitrust thing comes in. But Patreon as a platform, well, not even as a platform, as a publisher, can and will kick anyone, and we're seeing the repercussions of that. More and more people are leaving their platform, and it's only a matter of time before they feel that hit in their wallet instead of their community.
No, that's the big thing with that. Just because had they just deplatformed Sargon, it's like, yeah, it's a crappy, your stuff. But the sheer fact is, as soon as folks started to migrate over to Subscribestar, a very small but still a competitor of Patreon, when that happened and then all of a sudden PayPal pulls out, you essentially you hamstring and almost crippled Subscribestar there. So that does seem to be potential collusion. And YouTuber Law, I mean, he has been covering this stuff for a while, and he usually errs on, yes, it could be, but we don't have evidence. He does actually believe at this point there is actual evidence for potential antitrust violations.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Where were you guys when Andrew England got censored?
Well, that's the thing. It happened to Andrew Anglin. It happened to Alex Jones. It's been continuing to happen to people.
So the point was brought up that it's not that Patreon was kicking people off. It's the fact that when people switched to Subscribestar, PayPal and other payment processors has ceased all communication and services to Subscribestar, making them not in a form of competition anymore. So that's where the anti-law or antitrust law comes in.
It's like a steel supplier withdrawing steel from a competitive railroad.
Right. So that's the reason why he's now taking action and filing an FTC, trying to get them to investigate. And even with an FTC investigation, they better pucker their buttholes, because they're going to have them breathing down their necks for the next year or two. And so even with this, I would not be surprised if, because the FTC investigation is about to kick off, that, oh, guess what? Now the payments processors and PayPal is now finally going to allow Subscribestar access to their payment processing services, allowing another form for people to move over comfortably, therefore providing another hit in Patreon's wallet because of all the shenanigans.
It's like the boss coming around Friday afternoon.
Right. You work at a call center, and then all of a sudden you find out, you're used to casual dress, and you find out the client is coming on a certain day. So now you have to dress business. You're going to be uncomfortable as all get up and go. But guess what? It's going to be done, because then guess what? If it'll look bad on them, and an FTC can be like, nope, this isn't happening. Shut it down.
I think it's one of those things where a lot of businesses, I think many, if not maybe even all entities at some point are never going to have a skeleton in their closet. It depends on the size and how many of them they have. But as soon as you actually have the federal government coming around, it's like, all right, even if you've done something, you should be on your best behavior, just because if they want to go after you, they can almost always find something.
I would not be surprised if within the next 6 months, Subscribestar got full support from all major cardholders, all major banks, and PayPal to reinstate the payment processing services. I would not be surprised due to the FTC coming in now because of the antitrust law.
But yeah, like I said, I'm going to drop now. See ya.
See ya. You have a good one.
Peace out.
Yeah, we're about an hour and a half in. I mean, is there anything else to really talk about, or
did we have another article, or?
I don't have another article, so I mean, this is kind of like last minute article pull as well. So I mean, we're working to get that better as well. Maybe like 3 or 4, during article days, or or whatnot in that correlation.
We need more stuff. Oh, okay. No, I mean, could continue on with the whole deplatforming and kind of because that goes into, because I as well, I mean, I've been following YouTuber law for a while, and I've always found to be pretty fair, and that's why I tweeted his thing to a lot of the bigger YouTubers, I think a couple of folks here as well, just because he's like, the more people are talking about this and acknowledge that this is a thing, and we're really starting to go down a very slippery slope at this point. I mean, folks have been saying it's been a slippery slope for a while, but this is when you have folks not even related to the whole kind of political community coming out and saying because even Lior, I believe he's the actual guy that does YouTube law.
Yeah.
He even says I'm not really a political guy, but the one thing I tend to try to always err on is freedom of speech.
Yeah.
And in this case, I mean, you're making the argument because, I mean, at this point, if you're taking away a potential person's livelihood, if you're actually taking away money, I mean, we do also live in a world where Citizens United at some point stated that sometimes money is speech. So, I mean, it's kind of like a double dip here.
Right. So I mean, that goes back to the platform versus publisher type thing. The way that I would describe it is the moment that a platform leans one way, politically speaking, is the moment they stop being a platform and start being a publisher, because now they're taking people off the list, so to speak, that have opposing views. And with patrons, with patrons' terms of service, it allows them to act that way while covering their rear ends, which is one of the reasons why, say Tim, right? you know, having a talk with, you know, what's your face about it, and they're trying to you know, assure that the conversations are not recorded. And their version of doubling down is, you know, a person on a short bus saying, "Look, motherfucker, even I know that's retarded."
Well, the thing is, what you run into with this stuff here is because I am still not 100% sure this is because of political ideology, and the reason why I say
all right, come on, memes. I mean, you're willfully ignorant if you come back with that statement.
Well, hold on. I want to see what he has to say, because we're going to go ahead and debunk this step by step. So please continue, memes.
Okay, and the reason why I say I'm not 100% convinced. Do I believe this is a factor? Oh, hell yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you just look demographically in California, California tends to be a much more liberal state. However, on the books in California, political ideology / affiliation, those are actually members of a protected group, because California is one of only 2 states in D.C. that actually have that as a protected class. Was Stargon working for Patreon in some way, shape, or form? Because that could actually be an argument there. And even Jack of Twitter and like all these other companies, they will always say they do not discriminate based upon public affiliation. And the reason why I say I could have actually some belief in that is when it comes down to the reporting process. Because if you noticed, during that basically transcript of the call between Mr. Christensen and Ms. Hart there, if you look at what was actually discussed, they say it's based upon people bringing things to their attention, and then people actually review it. And the thing that I've noticed is when I'm on a Dr. Winter stream or many other more leftish folk streams, they say if they come across something and they think it could potentially be a violation, they go right up and report it, and they are very honest about that. Whereas if you're kind of more of like the libertarian or more kind of conservative side of things on this side of YouTube, many of the folks, they'll say, I do not like this, I'm not specifically going to report it. And I hear that just because that seemed to be a big thing, kind of like with Mundane Matt, because he was a reporter. It kind of all seems to be a sin. So I'm thinking if you have a disproportionate amount of folks on maybe one particular side doing the reporting and the others are disproportionately not reporting, that could explain a lot of this.
Okay, before you do your rebuttal, I just wanted to make clear, like in California, you know, politically leaning, however, you know, that's a protected class. That's only in relation to being employed. So there can't be any discrimination based on political leanings when applying for a job. You know, just wanted to make that clarification. As YouTuber Law said himself. MC, go ahead.
Oh, I mean, if you're going to come back and take a look at that, you take a look at the deplatforming of Infowars, not Alex Jones, Infowars. What's their justification? It's not deplatforming Alex Jones. Why did they deplatform all of Infowars? Sit up there and tell me that it's because of any rhetoric that they used or any hate speech that you use. Every time somebody asks them specifically for an example, show me an example of the hate speech that you find offensive. They come back with if they do come back with it, the first thing that happens is somebody does a quick Google search or a quick search on their platform and will pull up how many different times all these people are doing this. Point it out to them directly. Do they then go, okay, we're going to have to deplatform all these people? Nope, not at all. So to say that no, this is them being reported, and therefore, no, it's who's reporting it to them. With Sargon, they went after Sargon and even came back and mentioned his appearance at VidCon, where he literally did absolutely nothing. Okay? But sit in an audience. Tell me, memes, that the reason that they deplatformed was because he sat at an audience and some lunatic SJW had a freaking conniption fit because, well, he said some mean things to me and I can't believe that you're letting this garbage human sit here. Saying for deplatforming the guy? That it's not political? There's no other explanation but that it's political. And the reason they said that was because as soon as people said, well, take a look at the context of the quote unquote, the white nigger thing that he said, right? Which is what it's got everybody upset about. Started saying, well, look at this context here and look at all the other context. They then tried to come up with another excuse. If it's what you said, if it's because other people are coming up to them constantly, repeatedly on the left saying, look at this guy, he's violating your terms of service, and they were just holding on to their terms of service, all right, then you would have a point. But when they come back and they start making excuse after excuse and starts changing their stories and coming back with things like I said, where he look at his VidCon thing, I'm sorry, memes, it's even attempt to say, well, I want to give them the benefit of the doubt is being willfully ignorant. You know that's what they're doing. You just don't have the guts to look them in the eye and tell them that what they're doing is wrong. That's what they're doing and that it's wrong.
Well, the whole VidCon thing, that does seem like a postscript explanation there, I do believe. But again, I think a lot of this goes back to the report feature. So they said somewhere else, basically within the past week, we found these other things that people were probably reporting Sargon for there as well. And it's just, I know Tim Pool has covered a number of times. He's like, these other things, like you said, if you just do a brief search of the platform itself, you're going to find a lot of that same language there. You're going to find some of the same words. But again, Tim Pool says, I will not share this. And again, it comes down to have folks actually hit the report bunted on it. I mean, if they have, and then they just kind of just let that go. And for the Sargon thing,
VidCon, are you going to tell me that them mentioning VidCon isn't an indication of that they're just looking for an excuse?
Oh, absolutely. No, I fully acknowledge that. That's why I'm saying I'm not disagreeing on that. I'm saying overall, when it's that quote unquote folks that are more conservative or right-leaning are being deplatformed at a disproportional rate, I think a lot of it may actually come down to the number of reports actually filed, because we don't know how many are actually being reported.
So before this continues, and I will let it continue because this is a good conversation, I need an avatar from both of you, MC and Memes, because I think this fits the criteria of Fight Night. So if you can do me a favor while you're talking, go ahead and give me those avatars.
I'll try and DM it to you. I'll have to look. I'll have to look for mine. I'm sorry. I'll get it to you later today. How's that? The thing is, Memes. Well, I mean, let me see if I can.
He wants it right now. He wants to upload it to the skin and do something fancy.
I want to do the fancy blueberry stuff.
Don't know if
No. Here. Optimus, do this instead. Do this instead. We'll throw everybody completely off. I got you.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I was gonna do it in secret and everything, but I couldn't.
Put not on the avatar. There we go. I think you'll enjoy that. It's already pre-cut out for you.
No, that's no.
Oh!
No, we're not doing that. No. Negative, Knight Rider.
Can I do this one instead? I understand I wasn't that jargon, but can I be a cute kitty?
You know what? Yeah, screw it. We'll go for it. We'll go for it on that one. That is not a problem.
Oh God, well we're gonna piss people off, but you know what? These things happen. I think it's adorable.
Right, MC. I'm waiting on yours.
God. So, MC, while you're finding a quick random picture you can upload here, what I'd say here is some of it political ideology? Absolutely. I mean, we want to support the folks that we like, and we don't want to not support them. But it's just, I don't hear many folks on this side of YouTube saying, "Oh, I reported 6 people" and stuff. So just the sheer metrics make me think that it ain't just because they disagree with people. The other thing too is 10 months ago, dude. It was 10 months ago. You're going back in the past.
Severity of the disagreement. It's not just that they disagree with this person or that person. If they're a nobody, then they're going to get to walk. To me, there's nobody that's going to come after me. Granted, I'm nobody. But with Sargon, with the amount of people and everything that's going on there, all right, that's why he was specifically targeted. Clearly honest, and as soon as they get information that there's a target out there, then we'll go after the targeted people. But it's selective targeting.
I tend to agree with that. The reason I say that, MC, is because if you look at it in that Jacqueline conversation with Matt Christensen, she said one of the parts that she really didn't want to get into was the actual payment processing when he was asking, was Patreon bending the knee there? Because she kept saying, we have particular guidelines here. So I really do think a lot of this may actually come down to the payment processor. You may have actually hit the nail on the head. The other problem that Patreon has is Jack Conte on Dave Rubin said manifest observable behavior, and then he did clarify at one point saying only things that you post to Patreon they would go through. They have completely done a 180 on what they said and tried to kind of BS through the terms of service, which, I mean, most every big platform term of service or even an Apple contract or something, there are parts of it that are unconscionable. And what that means is if there's a part of the contract that literally is so just completely out there, that's just so one-sided and pretty much breaks the law, a lot of the times, if in a court, the judge may throw out that part of the contract trying to maintain the majority or the actual whole document as whole as they can. So I'm not disagreeing that, they shouldn't have fucking kicked Sargon off, because this does appear to be because he's saying things you don't like. And that's bullshit. What I'm saying is the looking at it saying that folks on the right are the only ones, or basically being completely disproportionately taken off because of what they think, I think a lot of that can be explained by reporting features. The Sargon thing, it's kind of like two separate things there.
No. It still comes down to the same thing. Sargon was targeted because he's considered to be on the right. He's considered to be anti-SJW. That's why they got rid of him. No other reason. His speech, if it's not for what he said, then what is it, memes? Look at the
somebody actually hit the report
when
button.
Somebody on the left is kicked off because they actually do violate the terms of service, because they are violating the terms of service. Show me one of these leftists that gets kicked off not for violating the terms of service, but for just kind of like being kind of edgy. Then you'll have an excuse. No, what you'll find is the left is kicked off for violating the terms of service.
No, dude, just look at David Pakman. Like his Amazon account and stuff like that for like the Amazon Pay and whatnot. He's actually, I believe, been attacked twice in about the past year. And what ends up happening is he ended up losing like 10 or 15% of his show's revenue. What ended up happening is both times were, well, the first time was after he kind of got into an online kind of video response to him and Sargon and stuff. It did seem to me that there were some reports, and all of a sudden, one of the things he had, his links, affiliate link, I believe, was one of the situations where all of a sudden it got either suspended, it died and no longer worked, so he had to get a new one. But it was then, and then I think when he was going after Jordan Peterson and some stuff over the past month or so, I think even maybe Tim Pool did a video on it, because his show actually lost some of its money, a 10 to 20%, a fairly substantial amount, after it seems like he may have been rated or said things people don't like. So, I mean, is that a direct example equivalent to Patreon? Maybe not, but I mean, it is an example, man.
No, it's not an example, memes. I'm sorry. He wasn't targeted for his political speech. He was targeted for violating the terms of service.
No. The terms of service was the excuse they came up with after the fact.
For who?
Sargon.
With you there. That's what they're trying to claim, and it's obvious. But the case that Means was just talking about wasn't, the guy didn't get hammered for it, for his terms of service.
What was it? Terms of actually, maybe it was, because the actual terms of service.
Look what you're doing, Memes.
No, I'm saying he may. I'm saying he may have been folks pointing that out. That's why I said it wasn't the greatest example. But it's a guy that took an actual monetary law.
Well,
So
who's
as
actually taking the monetary loss, though, in terms of what's going on? Because who was it that had up the Graphtreon, the graph, whatever it's called, looking at how much Patreon has been hit by this? And people came back, but quick. It looks like they only lost like 4 or 5%. Like it wasn't a lot.
Oh,
I can't
for
remember
Patreon itself?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, this was a minuscule hit, but their response has seemed to be very strong, which makes me think because of how the payments are processed there. Because even Vash told me, like he had received a donation from Server Troll. He received a $50 donation that was pledged to him. However, he never actually got that money because he had $70 in Patreon contributions. So he never actually received that money. That money went directly to his other pledges, which seemed weird to him. And then somebody else, basically in the case that Tim Pool cited the other day, there was basically his account was just randomly just frozen. He wasn't receiving any money, but any money that he was actually sending out, that money seemed to go there. At some point, just the way it's routed, see, I always just thought Patreon was just a big escrow. People put money in and it gets paid out as needed. It almost seems like they're just setting up a whole bunch of multiple transactions, just kind of just IOUs going to everybody.
No, it's basically a subscription service like what your autopay does for your phone or your insurance.
It just seemed kind of.
Well, it's easier.
I think it's for tax purpose. But then again, I thought that's what an escrow account was.
Well, an escrow account is pretty involved and able to use. I can talk. I swear to God. In order to be able to use something like an escrow, you have to have real property. You have to have something that has a collateral value that you're holding.
Doesn't.
Escrow accounts.
Oh, okay. No, that's fair. No, I'm just using that basically as an account specific dedicated.
But that still doesn't change the fact. Cannot sit up there and play the game of saying that the reason Patreon went after frickin' Sargon had anything to do other than his political viewpoints.
Oh yeah,
and for any other reason. And if you can show me, for example, of them doing it on the left, then okay, memes, you'll have a reason to sit up there and say, well, maybe it isn't this way. If you cannot, and you can't, it doesn't exist, then you are willfully saying, well, I don't want to call them out for being what they are. Right? Leftist weenies that are trying to deplatform and prevent conservatives or anything that disagrees with the hardcore liberal mindset from getting out of there. They are placing politics above everything else. And it is affecting their bottom line. Now, one thing that I've always disagreed with people like Tim Pool and people like Styx and people like Sargon, who has also said this, is that the left, the main thing is that these are corporations and that they respect the bottom line and they respect money. No, they don't. They do not necessarily not necessarily. When they are a hardcore left-leaning organization, they will sacrifice pay and their bottom line to go after conservative speech. They've done it in the past, and they'll do it in the future.
But they'll only go so far.
That's true. I mean, it's not right, and that's why I disagree with banning a Sargon. It's just, if you're going to be a platform, you need to be a platform. Again, what I'm saying is, I believe a lot of this disproportionate stuff, I'm just curious how many times folks on different sides are reported. I mean, I'm just curious. I think that's a factor in here, which ends up skewing the overall result.
It is the factor. It is the primary factor.
MC, who's the last person you reported?
Anyway.
Okay.
I reported myself because I'm so damn good.
Temma, who's the last person? Temma, who's the last person you reported?
I've never reported anybody.
MADDS, who's the last person you reported?
I think he kind of dozed off.
Optimus, who's the last reported?
I reported everyone, blueberries included.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding.
So we have blueberries.
So, no. So
Blueberry
the
can
legitimate
have,
last reporting that I did was 3 years ago, and it was an actual channel that had actual nudity in the form of like yoga, and it was showing everything, and like nothing was pixelated out, and so it was yeah. So it was definitely worth reporting because kids can see that stuff.
Well, I don't was running around in a state of various states of undress or upset about.
Well, okay, so he had 2 words taken out of context and thrown in his face. And all
10
of this
months
stems
later.
from what?
Oh, it was 10 months later.
Well,
One
okay,
of
10
my-
months later on somebody else's channel, even, okay? Not on Patreon, not on any platform. But they've done this. James also, he was frozen. His accounts were just shut down, and they didn't give him shit. Like, not a word. I'm not a big James Alsop fan, but, shit, everybody should be able to say what they want to say. He has nowhere to say it anymore. They took all his money away. It's stupid. Trying to say that they have a right to do that when they're dealing with somebody else's freedom of expression in a legal fashion, because in America we've already determined that the way you spend your money is your expression. So this is I think YouTube law.
They are trying to deny not just Sargon and quote unquote as many people say break his rice bowl. The people who want to donate to Sargon, who like his content, who enjoy him as entertainment, and they're trying to deny their free speech by preventing and putting up roadblocks intentionally to prevent him from getting those kinds of donations. Going out of their way to do that as well. The ones that they do it to are the conservatives.
No, that's not true.
Do not see them going after it. And I realize that Sargon is not a quote unquote conservative as people talk about it. But if you are hardcore anti-SJW, everybody knows that the SJWs are an activist group and they will come after you.
Yeah.
Reasons why they call themselves SJWs, Socialist Justice Warriors. So with that in mind, when you sit up there and join their side, which is what Patreon did, okay, and then expand it across platforms where you're trying to go, not just from there, and I shouldn't say Patreon did, but you definitely can take a look, say that PayPal did, platform to platform to deplatform this guy. Okay, it isn't that they're concerned about freedom of speech or content or anything, aside from the fact that this is somebody they've deemed as an enemy, and they're trying to deny that person's speech.
So he's been blacklisted.
Painful for them. And for you memes to come back and go, well, no, it could have been this and it could have been that, in the face of how obvious this is, in the face of being unable to look at a similar example and go, no, they were just wrapped up in some algorithm or something else that's in there. It's just nonsense. Well, these algorithms to even catch this kind of things, and then when they go outside of that platform, and then when they're called out for it, storm hits and people are like, well, wait a minute here. It's not in your terms of service. Wait a minute here. And they bring up legitimate things. They then go out to the next step. Well, look what he did on VidCon. How can you be offended? I'm dead serious by anything that Sargon did with VidCon. Please explain to me why you would sit up there and even mention VidCon as if it's some element of negativity. All right, with Sargon. Sargon did literally nothing at VidCon, which means that they didn't care what Sargon was actually doing. They cared who Sargon was and who was telling them, get rid of this guy.
Wait a second. MC, are you saying that what Sargon did just a little less of 2 years ago by just showing up at Arnita Sarkeesian's VidCon panel, sitting there and just smugly looking at there, should not have been a reason for Patreon to ban him?
Is it a reason to ban anybody?
Oh.
You're banning him because he exists? Is that what you're trying to defend now, Memes?
Well, shoot, I'm banned.
Well,
Crap.
well, MC, you definitely just put together a very nice bamboo man, because that's not what I said at all.
And
I
ask
was-
the question then.
Let-
Oh,
let's-
I asked the question. Well, I mean, talking on the internet, nobody ever gets anyone else's thinking, so that would never lead to any potential non-actual debates or anything. No, but what I'm saying is,
Ladies and gentlemen, everyone's been bamboozled.
hey, I see what you did there. God, I want some Kung Pao chicken right now. Oh, bamboo shoots are so tasty.
Ni hao. Ni
Blueberries,
hao.
blueberries. No, but what I'm saying here is the problem with Patreon and everything. What have they done here? They've banned a man. They've taken a man off. It's like, all right, so they banned Andrew Aguilera. I didn't say anything. They banned Alex Jones. I didn't say anything. They banned Sargon. Oh, but he looks like the gummy bears from the 90s cartoon if he was an anthropomorphic human. It's just like, okay, yeah, he says some stupid shit, but I gotta give Sargon credit where credit's due. I learned what an ad hominem attack was from him. He helped introduce me to this greater community within YouTube and helps basically
Introduce you to
lead me
dictionary.
here right now.
So let me interject.
Sargon's actually an influential figure. Go ahead.
Let me interject right here by saying, you know, with all the people, it's like, well, this person got to platform, this person got to platform. Why is everyone up in arms about Sargon? It's more or less the not the dynamic, but the demographic that follows this individual. Like Alex Jones was known as a conspiracy theorist, right? So it's like there's a lot of people that are conspiracy theorists, and conspiracy theorists are going to be like, "See, I told you, rada, give me my blueberries." You know, with like Sargon, it's more primarily geared on the internet, and then a lot of people aren't standing for it when it's most primarily of the demographic that's targeted by the content provided by the individual that is up in arms. It's you get the right demographic up in arms about anything, things are going to change, which is an underlying thing about the social justice warriors as well. Social justice warriors want everything catered to them, and when corporations finally crumble and cater to them, then they get that much more power. Continue.
Well, yeah, it also feels good, so you want to do it more.
Is a standard for the left. All right, it's the same thing that the Rainbow Coalition would do when they were trying to shake down any industry that they so desired. All right, if they needed money, they would shake down somebody claiming the racism was happening. Their books, and you can see what they were doing. And a lot of that money ended up in frickin' the mistresses of frickin' Jesse Jackson, because he was using that money to pay off his mistresses. But that's a side note.
Well,
I can say that your contention, Memes, was to start very simply. Well, it looks bad, but it could have been a factor. No, it wasn't a factor. It was the factor. The only factor you can point to. This is why they did it. Because every other reason that they've given, when you examine, all right, what they actually do with other people and how they've actually listed it, it comes up wanting. Factor that's left. The only one, all right, is, well, we banned Sargon because we don't like the fact that the SJWs don't like him and we're SJWs. Too. We're going to ban his speech and try and limit
with 100% certainty, because the reason
that with 100% certainty. You can look at it now. I'm waiting for you, Memes. If I'm wrong, if you can show me one of the other factors that they mentioned that they have actually acted upon on somebody on the left, I'm going to go to a true moderate, which Sargon's really more of a moderate. If you can show me where they've done it, literally gone after people for one of these other reasons that they've mentioned.
Well, then again, it's like I said.
Hold
I
on.
think there were a few Antifa folks, but that's not a good comparison, especially.
Hold on a second. Hold on a second. I gotta find my fight bell, because you know, there's about to be some dinging up in here.
And again,
got
and
banned
again.
because not because they were frickin' Antifa on the left. They were calling for violence. Has Sargon been calling for violence?
That's criminal. That should be the factor, right?
criminality.
If somebody's promoting violence or criminal behavior, that is illegal. If it's illegal, companies don't allow the illegal.
Illegality is one thing. What did Sargon do that was illegal?
Oh, he was mean to many people.
It's illegal now?
All right. Hold on. Let me just interject. Thank you, Anu Vlad. Really liking the layout as well. He says, I fucking love this layout, by the way. Give me the blueberries. Okay, continue.
You do need the blueberries to be batting back and forth.
Yeah. You know what? I might incorporate that.
Oh, God. This is... I fear how it's going to come out. Don't forget the cherries.
I'd give everyone blueberries.
No, MC, no. To go through this, okay. Let me steel man what Jack Conte said back in the report here. He said manifest observable behavior. What is Sargon? Sargon is known. Is he a public intellectual or is he a shit poster?
Both.
Doesn't matter.
He's both. The problem is, it doesn't matter what the fuck he is. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It does not matter.
I agree with that, but if they view
Give me
him
a butt.
if they view him as primarily a shit poster, if you're just a shit poster, to make Patreon feel it's in their ethical responsibility to not promote poor behavior.
Okay, well, Patreon, describe to me how dyeing your hair fucking chartreuse, sleeping with 19,000 people, doing cocaine off of a dead hooker's back, and calling yourself a fucking communist is any more of a positive behavior.
Hold on. Let me interject there. Necrophilia, lay back and crack open a cold one. Leaving on that note, okay, we got like literally 5.5 minutes left. This has been really good. We're actually going to pocket this for another time. I like the way this is going. We'll just have an all-out, blood fest later on. Final thoughts, however, and this part is not the debate stuff. So you start trying to debate, no blueberries for you. MC, final thought.
Look, I mean, we all know what this is all about, right? And I do like by the way, I do like the layout, although you might want to center us a little bit more.
I will work on that.
When it comes to freedom of speech, and I am closer to a free speech absolutist. Are there extenuating circumstances that I'll accept? Yes. All right. More than the libertarians such as MADDS, quite probably. At the same time, for the most part, all right, during peacetime, all right, am I a free speech absolutist? Yeah, I am. All right. As long as you're not calling for violence and as long as you're not calling for death of other people, I don't have a problem with it. You allow that speech on one end and you don't allow it on the other end. All right. You've got not just a hypocrisy problem. You've got a legal problem when you start dealing with money.
Okay. I couldn't tell if you were finished or not.
So I said that's all I've got to say.
Oh, I couldn't hear that. You cut out at the end, so that's cool. Memes, final thought.
Well, it is a very sexy layout, and the thing is with Sargon, I believe it or not, beyond all that yammering at each other, as far as free speech goes, I actually tend to see, unless you're literally doing something to break the law, incite violence, I think you should have the right to say something. But just because you have the right to say something doesn't always mean you should say something. But I mean, that's more of a cultural aspect and folks being able to agree with that. It's just, I think in order to solve a lot of these problems, we very often argue past each other. That's why very often I may steelman a position just because I want to see where the holes are. And once you actually see where the holes are, weaknesses are, you actually have the ability to reforge something a bit more so.
All right, cool. Temma.
Well, Well, I'm probably the closest to an absolutist on the panel. So for me, I'm like, there shouldn't be silencing of anybody anywhere ever. So I don't know why you would consider this at all. I mean, who cares what they're saying? People are paying them to say it. It's none of your damn business. You don't want to listen to it. Don't. There's no need to be silencing it. It's not. So to me, the argument, especially with the technicality aspect that they've been using the whole time, if I had any kind of money or ability to do anything, I probably would have been slapping a lot of these people with antitrust violation civil suits a long time ago, because we've been having antitrust since Google decided they could take your stuff from you as soon as you put it on any kind of Google document or Google Drive, because they're searching everything you say for keywords now, and everybody seemed to have forgotten that. You know, there's a whole lot more to it than just Patreon deplatforming Sargon, in my opinion.
Right. And our very own Mod Jensen.
Well, thank you for having me here. And to be honest, although I didn't say anything, I didn't actually have anything to add to it. But one thing I would like to point out, love the setup, and I'm done.
All right, thank you for that, MADDS.
Yeah, I think there's one aspect that everybody has forgotten about, and that's the fact that we actually pay Patreon to do a service for us, not the other way around. So for them to even be taking our money with one hand and then searching our shit with the other is kind of problematic to begin.
Well,
all right, and as for, you know, thank you for that insight. We'll definitely go ahead and keep that for another night, because I want that to continue. That is a good topic of conversation to go down. We can even make it a blood sport. That is fine. My final thought of the night is, if cigarette taxes are to discourage people from smoking, doesn't income taxes discourage people from working? I mean, that's my final thought for the night. And, you know, I think that really does it for the stream. We literally have like 10 seconds left, so I think it was a pretty good wrap-up. I want to thank everyone for coming out and actually watching the show. We plan to do a lot more of these moving forward, as well as debates. Who knows? You want to be brought in a debate? Let us know beforehand, so that way we can go ahead and get you in, get you set up, have everything set up for you. And, you know, we all appreciate everyone coming out, and always remember, give me my blueberries, praise Doug, and what's the official, like, you know, leaving everyone?
All hail Blue Whale. Doug is insufficient.
Me and you's gonna have words, Temma. All right. Everyone.
Luck, and don't go to Frank.
Right. Everyone have a good night.